Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for Leveraging Leadership. My name is Kellen Adams, and today I'm here with CHS Principal Matt Custer. Mr. Custer, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I know you've been in Chanute for a while. Most people know you, but if you would, just take a couple minutes and tell the audience about yourself and about your great family.
Yeah, so I am a lifelong resident of Chanute. Grew up here, attended schools here in Chanute, kindergarten through high school graduation, as well as a year at Neosho County Community College. Decided to come back here to Chanute to raise our family. Have three boys, two of them in high school, one of them in elementary school. My wife, Kara, is also from Chanute, so her parents still live here as well. Started my career as an elementary educator at Hutton Elementary School here in Chanute. Then had the opportunity to move to my personal elementary school that I attended when I was a kid, Alcott, and teach second grade there, as well as some title services. Then I moved over to the elementary school when it was built and taught title services there as well, math and reading, before becoming an assistant principal, mostly dealing with kindergarten, first grade there. When Mr. Wheeler retired as the principal of the elementary school, I stepped into that role as the head principal. I did that for 2 years and then decided to take the leap to the board office, to the central office, assistant superintendent of student supports and technology last year, before stepping into the role as interim principal here at the high school this year.
Thank you. You mentioned your lovely wife, Kara. We certainly enjoy her and appreciate all that she does to support you. So
yeah,
shout out to Kara Custer.
Yeah, she's extremely supportive of me, our family, of course, and has always been supportive of my career decisions that sometimes is probably taken away from our family life, but she has always been supportive of that and continues to be.
Excellent. For those in the audience that may not be aware, Mr. Custer is currently serving as the interim high school principal. That decision was made last April. And then just recently here, we decided that he will actually serve in that capacity for the next year. So, Mr. Custer, expand for just a little bit to the audience on how we arrived at that decision and what your thoughts are on that today.
So, obviously the decision was not easy, but the decision really was a lot of discussion about where the high school is at currently from a standpoint of providing not only services to kids, but also the culture of the building with teachers, with staff, as well as the perception of parents and the Board of Education. So that was what the discussion revolved around. And in reality, the decision was made because we felt that consistency was important. We felt that creating a consistency of more than just 1 year to try to continue to build the culture of the school, to continue to build the perception of the public and the perception of the board that Chanute High School is doing great things and will continue to do great things. The consistency, I think, was the factor. We also have two assistant principals at the school who are fairly inexperienced in their leadership endeavors. Mr. Murray, this is his second year in his position as an administrator, and Mr. Applegate in his second year at the high school and fourth year overall. So we felt like there was value in building the capacity of those two and giving those two some good examples of what leadership is, and the ability to have somebody that they were comfortable with, because they knew me from being in the district, somebody that they were comfortable with coming to and saying, I don't really know what to do in this situation. Like, what advice is there and what advice can be had? Leadership truly is about experiences. And the more experiences you have in leadership, the better off, or the better you are at being able to make decisions, and the better you become at being able to handle tough situations. Most people are capable of leadership. but most people don't have the experience to be able to put it into action on a daily basis. And so because of those reasons, I think as we met as a central office staff and as we discussed the possibilities, and then you throw in the fact that this year is like no other in the history of education with COVID and the challenges that has brought.
Absolutely.
We just really felt that consistency was probably the key factor in continuing what we had started this year.
Very good. You hit on very salient points there: culture, the team that you've got, and really the critical component is that leadership experience that I think our staff is craving right now. Talk to us a bit. What can CHS teachers expect from you as the high school principal?
So I think what we've tried to set up is a consistent delivery of information, so that information is out to staff on a consistent basis, so that they have expectations of what's going to happen. They have expectations of the plans that are upcoming. So we've increased the communication, and communication is key to starting the idea of creating a different culture within a school system. So I think the biggest thing that they can expect is that communication. Outside of that, I think the other thing that we've tried to promote is the idea that we're willing to make the decision, and when we make a decision, that's the decision that's been made, and we're going to stick with it up until the point where there's information that allows us to maybe make a better decision than what we had. But the idea of not making a decision because maybe you don't have enough information goes back to the leadership experience that you have. It's rare that you have all of the information that you need to make the best decision every single time. And so, but you still need to make that decision, because that's what people want when they start asking questions. They want a decision to be made. So being willing to make the decision, stand by the decision, but always remain open to when new information comes that maybe the decision is going to change based on the new information.
Very good. So communication and decisiveness are really two strong points of yours that I would fully agree with. As I worked with you last year, those are two great things. So I would echo what I just heard. I believe CHS teachers can and should expect that from you. Speak to us more globally now, as the school as a whole. At Chanute High School, what do you currently perceive to be the strengths and or points to work on for CHS?
Yeah, so strengths right now, I think the biggest strength of Chanute High School is the staff itself. I think that the staff here at Chanute High School is extremely committed to students and is extremely committed to the learning environment and the idea that we truly are here for student learning. We're not here just to teach kids. We're here to see kids learn and to ensure that they are learning. So I've been probably most impressed with the commitment of the staff towards student learning here at the high school. A couple areas that I think can use improvement. One is culture, and I'll start with culture with the staff. So I think culture with staff means that collectively we're all here together, and that we support each other, we believe in each other, and we're all here to make each other better. And I think we have some growth to do there. I think that we have some departments that have become separated from the school as a whole because of one reason or another, in that this department does what they do because they're trying to do what's best for kids. Mm-hmm. And they've become somewhat separated from the understanding of, well, because we're doing that in our department, how does that impact another department, and how does that impact other teachers? I would love to get to the point where our culture here at the high school is that anybody that would say something about another teacher, good, bad, or indifferent, that any other teacher in this building would support the good and defend what was said that may have been bad about that person. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think we're making strides to get there. We need our teachers to support each other. The last thing that I think will help with culture and will help in building our school to the point that we want it to be is school pride. I think we need our students to take more pride in our school. I think we need our staff to take more pride in our school. And that extends beyond the idea that it's just about athletics. It's really easy to show school pride at a Friday night football game. But what does school pride look like at 12:30 when you walk into the west doors of the school after 70 kids have eaten outside? School pride looks like it's clean, that it's taken care of, because everybody that walks up to our school and everybody that's in our school wants everybody that walks up to our school to believe that this is the best place for kids.
Great point.
And so school pride is a huge issue.
Very good. You mentioned culture, great segue here. We talk about it all the time. You and I probably talk about it daily. Just read this the other day. Culture is best defined as the way in which we treat each other as we go about the work. I'm confident there's other definitions that maybe resonate with you more. Nonetheless, talk to us a little bit more about that culture that we know is so critical here at CHS. What's lacking? What can we do to help it? Just talk to us globally, or anything related to culture here at CHS.
So going back to the communication, I think communication helps that. Communication helps culture. When everybody knows what everybody else is doing, it tends to create an environment where people want to be here because they have an understanding of what's going to happen. Culture is the way that people treat other people. When any person randomly walks up to a staff member in the school and asks about another staff member, is the first thing that's said something extremely positive about them as a person? Is it something about them as a teacher? Or is it something negative about them, either as a person or a teacher? And I think that tells you what your culture is. Again, I believe that when you have a great culture, that it sustains itself and it's not reliant on people. So, or it's not reliant on the leadership itself. Great culture sustains when leaders leave. Great culture sustains when people leave, because it is who we are, not what we do. It is who we are. So, again, that's a point of emphasis for me, is to build that culture around our staff first, that our staff truly respects and understands each other, before we start spreading that culture down to students, parents, and the greater community as a whole.
Great. Thank you. You alluded to the leadership team. We know it's more than just simply Mr. Murray and Mr. Applegate. You've got a great host of folks there that really are supporting students, not only on the west side, but also on the east side of the main entrance. So talk to us a little bit about building that team of student support. What are you all focusing on? What are those conversations like? Where has the focus been? Just talk to us a little bit about that team that you're building.
Yeah, so the team being the counselors, the counseling office, which also involves our CTE coordinator. Our leadership team also involves our PLC leaders, and it involves our building leadership team. So you're right, it's more than Mr. Murray and Mr. Applegate. It takes far more than that to create a successful school and a successful culture here. So kind of our main focus at this point in time is to create schedules and to create opportunities for kids that maybe we haven't created in the past. And our real main focus right now is trying to identify what paths do we have for kids to be successful here at the school. Does everybody have to fit into the traditional path of that high schools were built around? This idea that everybody's going to go to college, so everybody has to take Math 9, Math 10, Math 11, chemistry as a junior. You need these English classes that are focused on getting you prepared for English Comp 1 and English Comp 2 at the college level. And schedules for many, many years at the high school level have been built around that idea. Like the focus of the high school is to prepare you to be ready for college when you leave here. We're trying to change the focus to be, can we prepare kids to be successful post high school? Success for every kid is different. Only so many kids are going to go to college.
Absolutely.
Only so many kids are going to go to a tech school. Some kids, their greatest success is going to be to leave Chanute High School with a certificate and go right to work as a productive citizen with a certificate, so that they can make a good earning throughout their career and do something that they're truly passionate about. So our focus, again, it comes back to, do we have a schedule? Do we have a matrix? Do we have the classes available and offered to kids to create successful post-high school students? And that doesn't have to revolve around that idea that we're all going to college. Obviously, when kids want to go to college, we want them to go to college, and we want to have the classes that allows us to prepare them for that. But we want to get more individualized. We want to get to the point where kids are starting to make choices and say, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I want to do, and we want to be able to offer the classes that are going to get them there, rather than just traditional high school classes.
Very good. Excellent focus by really a team of individuals in every hallway. You mentioned the PLC leaders. You mentioned obviously the counseling folks, mental health, Mrs. Bagshaw and her new role. It really takes a village to run a successful 4A high school.
For sure.
So, go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to go back a little bit. One of our focuses yesterday, as we were meeting for our early release, and we were meeting with PLC leaders, one of our focus was, or PLC groups, one of the focuses, or something we focused on was, what classes are we offering at the high school, and what are we giving credit for those classes? Mm-hmm. Are there classes that we are offering that we could expand and offer credits towards English, credits towards math, credits towards science that, again, gets outside of that one-track thinking, that there's only one track to get to high school graduation, there's only one way to get there, and that leads to post-secondary college. Mm-hmm. And so very proud of the effort put in yesterday by everybody on staff to start looking at those ideas of should an accounting class count as a math credit, or can it count as a math credit, and should it count as a math credit for a kid who wants to pursue this idea of business or this idea of finance? Is that a more successful path for them than maybe taking a traditional trig class, for instance, in some high schools? So
it is refreshing to hear that those conversations are happening here at this building, and that there is some momentum building to rethink outside that traditional box. That kind of segues to my next question. I don't think this will be a surprise to you that CTE has been a focus of mine and will continue to be. Speak to us again globally from the district perspective as well as the high school perspective. What role, Matt, does CTE courses, pathways, teachers, all of that, what role does CTE play in what we're trying to accomplish on this post-secondary success?
Yeah, so career and technical education, that's an interesting topic because it plays several roles, and it spans every single possibility. So right now at Chanute High School, we have a pathway that is a health and human health services pathway, HOSA. And that's leading kids that are interested in all the way up to being a medical physician, which we know is going to be a college career path. They're going to have to go to college if they want that. All the way to nursing, to CNA, to radiology, to pharmacist, anything that you can think of that's related to the medical field. And that pathway, being a CTE pathway, leads to that. We also have pathways that lead to welding certificates, mm-hmm. and we have pathways that lead to agricultural ideas. CTE fits into the exact thing that we just talked about, in that there are so many options for kids today to start making choices of what they want to do post high school. When they go out in the real world, what do they want to do? CTE's role in that is to provide them real experience in what those fields are while they're high school students, instead of going through high school and then saying, I want to go out and do this, and then they go out and do it, and it's not exactly what they thought it was.
Yes. Very cool.
And they get out there and they do it, and it's like, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be, but now I focused my whole time to get here, and I don't have any other choices, and I'm stuck. So this idea that as a freshman in high school, you can start learning about FFA, you can start learning about the medical fields, you can start learning about food service and culinary arts, all of these, and business, all these different pathways that we have. It's providing opportunities to kids to make better decisions about what they really are interested in and what they want. So again, knowing a traditional pathway to college is not for everybody. And we also know college is extremely expensive. Tech schools are extremely expensive. Do we want kids to experience those things and be prepared to make better decisions when they get there, so that their financial resources are spent doing something they want to do? Or we just get them there and then let them spend 6 years and tens of thousands of dollars trying to figure out what they want to do? That's what I think CTE provides for us. But we've got to continue to look outside the box and continue to think about, if we want to give those opportunities to students, how can we give those opportunities but also meet those requirements that the state has for graduation and that our Board of Education has for graduation? Leads me back to the discussion we had yesterday with our PLC groups. Is there value in looking at these classes and saying, hey, if we're going to take this class in the agricultural field, horticulture, does the idea of learning about horticulture really meet some science standards and meet enough science standards that maybe that qualifies now as a science class? And again, graduation being the first focus, the second focus being now this kid has an idea if that's something they're interested in. So CTE is going to continue to play a huge role in our school. We will continue to look at ways to expand it twofold. One, in what is important for our community. So what is our community, what does our region offer? Because that's one thing with CTE, we need to make sure that our classes are aligning with what our community and what our region offers. Obviously, we don't want to create a situation where we're bringing all the kids through the high school and preparing them to move away to Idaho and Washington and places like that. Yeah, we would really like to keep our best people here in our community. So that's one focus of what's available in our region, what's available in our community, and we want to match those with our CTE offerings. The second part is, what is the value in that field? Like, is there growth opportunities? Is there value in that field, and will that value remain? So that we're not setting kids up to be less than successful when they leave here. What's their success rate going to be going into that field outside of here? So I believe we're at 12 CTE pathways right now, and we would love to be at 20 in the very near future that are available for our students to make better choices of what they want to do post-high school.
It is exhilarating to hear that. I'm so glad that your team is focused on that. Let's get to 20. Let's get to 20 as soon as we can. We're going to bring some closure to this, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Custer, you spent the majority of your life as an elementary either teacher or admin. Obviously, been at the board office now. Talk to us. You've been in this seat since July. Really your first secondary experience, correct me if I'm wrong there. What's the biggest difference in what it takes to be a successful high school principal?
I don't know that there's a difference in being a successful principal. I think leadership is important. I think the biggest difference in being a high school principal versus an elementary principal is the idea that it becomes so much more content focused at the high school level. I could walk into any elementary classroom, into almost any elementary lesson, and feel confident in understanding what they were doing. But when you walk into a math class at the high school level, and you're not a math teacher, and they are factoring polynomials,
Yeah,
you really have no idea what they're doing unless that's your area.
100%.
That happens in English, that happens in social studies, that happens in science, it happens in every classroom. And so I think what it means to be successful is understanding that the high school principal or the principal of any building doesn't have to be the expert in the field of whatever classroom you're walking into. You need to be the expert in leadership, and you need to be the expert maybe in teaching and understanding the process of teaching, the process of learning. But you can't be the expert in every content area. And that's been a huge change. Because even sitting in a PLC meeting at the elementary level, I always felt like I had enough knowledge and information to be an active participant in that. And there are times at the high school level that I just don't have the content knowledge to be an active participant in the discussion related to content. But truly, again, coming back to this idea that leadership is leadership, and leadership matters. So being a good leader is being a good leader no matter which level you're at. The other difference I'll speak to is just the difference of talking to kids. At the high school level, when you talk to kids, you get to talk on a much higher level and understanding with kids than you do at the elementary level, obviously. And it's very rewarding to be to help students understand at this juncture in their life at high school that their next step is to be a citizen, and how everything that they do and prepare for here leads to what's going to happen to them in life. Where at the elementary level, you're preparing them to be a student in the next grade level. So just a big difference there. But I really enjoyed my time here. It certainly has challenged me and has led to growth for me, both in leadership and of just understanding of how schools operate. So it's been a good change for me.
Absolutely. You mentioned one point I just want to pick on. Leadership matters. Mr. Custer, I could not agree more. And your leadership has mattered here already. It's been evidenced not only from staff, students, and patrons. So we just want to say thank you for stepping into this role. It's a very, very tough role to fill. Whether you are an experienced administrator at the elementary level, such as yourself, or if you have 20 years of high school experience, this is a tough position. So we wish to say thank you for stepping up and for the amazing job that you've done.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. This has been Kellen Adams with Leadership, Leveraging Leadership. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.